Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome. I hope you all are having a fantastic week. So, help me in joining. Mr. Jeff Berger is going to join us today, and we are going to be talking, as we mentioned, all things type 2 diabetes. Jeff has been pretty much has had a lifelong experience, if you will, with type 2 diabetes in his family and himself, and finally just had enough and took his health back into his own hands. So, Jeff, if you will just give us a brief history, bring us up to the time that you realized that you could actually reverse type 2 diabetes, that it was not a life sentence.
Sure, Pam. Thanks. It's an honor to be here with you. Thanks for the invitation, and hello, everybody. So I'm tuning in from Cape Coral, and yes, I was actually diagnosed as pre-diabetic in my 40s, in my early 40s. My father was diabetic, his sister was diabetic, and his brother. And so, in at that age, you're doing a lot of things, and you start doing things towards trying to stay healthy. But of course, life gets in the way. Work is there. You're
Jeff, cannot hear you.
Sorry about that. I got a phone call coming in. I'm
All right, no
declining
worries.
it.
Yes.
And so, over those next 20 years, life just went on and on and on. But through that, it was like I started out with one medication, and then by the time it got to the fifth medication, I'm like, something's got to break here. And when the doctor said, I need to put you on a sixth medication, I said no. I said absolutely not. And around that time, so that brought me up into my early 60s, and around that time, that's when I was introduced to the Holistic Chamber of Commerce, and it really opened my doors to other options, which
Right.
I heard about holistic, and I thought it was foo-foo stuff, because that's what other people were saying. So I was listening, I was following, I was a sheep back then. And when I started to do a deep dive, I'm like, oh my gosh, I was coming across articles about type 2 diabetes. There's all kinds of diabetes. I'm type 2, but type 2 is basically related to food.
And it is
there's an insulin resistance to that.
Right.
Sorry,
and
Pam?
it is the most common.
I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me
Go
now?
ahead. Yeah, a little bit.
Type 2 diabetes is the most common type of diabetes.
Right.
One in three people are going to be diagnosed. They're pre-diabetic, 1 in 3 people. And you mentioned that your family, right? You had a family history. And I want to touch on that real briefly, because we often think we're predisposed, right? We often think we're predisposed to whatever illnesses that our family members have had, specifically our parents, right? However, the majority of, and you touched on this, the majority of people with type 2 diabetes, it is not genetic, it is a lifestyle. So I'm going to assume that you just developed a lifestyle pattern based upon what you had lived, right? Based upon your family lifestyle. You rolled that lifestyle pattern into your own, which then led you to be diagnosed with diabetes. So again, not genetic, probably lifestyle driven.
Correct. That's absolutely correct.
Yeah.
And during that, discovery period, if you will, I had worked with a coach and did some more research and did find that you could reverse type 2 diabetes. And that was the straw that broke the camel's back. Was I actually went into my doctor and said, I want to get my A1C down to 5.0. And at one point it was up to almost to a 12.
And just real briefly, for people that are listening that may, they hear type 2 diabetes, they may know somebody with it, explain to me and to people that are going to watch this what that means.
So A1C is a blood marker, and it's a 3-month measurement of your glucose levels and they, with that indicator, it either tells you you're non-diabetic, you're pre-diabetic, or you're diabetic.
Right.
And so I was non-diabetic is 5.4 below. Any pre-diabetic is 6.5 below, and anything above that is diabetic.
Right.
And I was up to 11, which is really, really high. And I was my glucose readings were up in the 300s, and at that point, so I just walked into my doctor and said, "Look, I want to get my A1C down to 5.0, which is non-diabetic." Her response was, "Why do you want to do that?" And I was like, I was dumbfounded,
Right. Why wouldn't you want to do
because she just that it just surprised me that that was her question. And I said, "Well, look, go ahead."
I was just going to say, no, finish your thought, and then I've got a question for you.
Yeah, no, I just told her, I said, "Well, I want to get my A1C down to 5.0. I want to lose 60 pounds, and I want to come off of these 5 medications. That is what I want to do. And as of this moment, I'm taking 100% control of my health, and you're either going to work with me or you're not." And so she did work with me to a certain extent. And after 9 months of doing the program, I came off of the medications. And then 3 months after that, she basically kicked me out of her office, out of
Yeah.
her practice.
Yeah. That's unfortunate.
Yep.
Unfortunate. So
Yep.
when you were on these medications, give me a few, give us an idea of like what you were feeling. Like, how did you feel every day?
Hey, so yeah, that's a great question. So a lot of the side effects that I was feeling were, just bloated, brain fog. I was tired. I wasn't motivated. I was gaining weight, and
And
stress was
where were you gaining that weight?
in the midsection,
Right.
which is pretty much common for men.
Yeah.
My father, my uncle, my aunt as
Yeah,
well,
it's very,
and women with type 2 diabetes
yeah,
as well. Because
it's very it's very common with type 2 diabetes to gain that belly fat, because once you start gaining that weight, you're much more likely to develop insulin resistance, which you kind of touched on before.
right,
And for anyone that doesn't know, insulin is actually a hormone, and it's made by the pancreas, right? So it has to, your pancreas has to process the intake and distribute the insulin, if you will, to the cells. And that doesn't happen properly when you become diabetic or even pre-diabetic.
correct. Yeah. So, so it's been an interesting journey. And even though I got my A1C down to 5.3, I was still having issues with my glucose, uh, going up into the high 100s, sometimes into the 200s. So I still did some more research, and I came across this insulin resistance. And it basically is, you've got too much fat in your cells, and your cell is not absorbing the sugar
Right.
that is converted from carbohydrates, and it's being pushed away and left in the bloodstream longer than it should be.
Right.
So, and that was the missing link of the puzzle for me. And that's something that I'm working on right now, getting down to really understanding the types of foods that I'm eating, because I can go back to eating watermelon and bananas, all the foods that I love to eat, papaya, which are high in sugar, but you kind of counterbalance that high sugar with more fiber. An example of that is when steel oats. I eat steel oatmeal, and that converts to sugar because of the carbohydrates. But in order to bring that sugar level down, I eat oatmeal with leafy greens,
Right.
believe it or not. And the
Yeah.
leafy greens help bring that sugar level down and kind of, teeter totter that glucose reading.
Yeah. And
So, and these
another
are the
thing,
things that I'm learning now in regards to insulin resistance, is being
right.
able to counterbalance those high spikes in the glucose levels.
Right. And another thing, fiber is, it's crazy how important fiber is in our diet. It's the spectrum is wide and broad with regard to the benefits of fiber diet. And obviously, number that we're talking about, diabetes, is, and one of the things that you can do to offset that is Amari has a couple of products that would be very good for anyone to increase fiber in their diet. And not only is it with the smoothie, the proteins, but we have a product called seed fiber. It's something that is so innovative. No one on the market has it. And it's so, so powerful because it gets to that cellular level that we spoke about, right?
Yep.
And the other is the superfood. So there's a great balance right there to increase your fiber. So
Absolutely.
we talked about, when Jeff and I talked before this interview, we talked about diet and how important nutrition is with regard to type 2 diabetes. Your food most likely is why you are type 2 diabetic, right? And your food is one of the main reasons how you can reverse that. So I know, Jeff, you went, you're pretty high on the plant-based spectrum with regard to your nutrition. Now, that's not, potentially may not be realistic for everyone, but there are so many things that you can do nutritionally to get this ball rolling. And one of the things that you did, Jeff, which I think is phenomenal because you followed the program, and that's something I want to talk about a little bit, is not only do we offer the solution with regard to product, we also offer solutions with regard to programs. We don't just give you, something and say, good luck. We actually have a program to help you along this journey. So talk about the program a little bit.
Sure. So the B3 program, it's Body Brain Biome, and this is what I actually was introduced. And I was actually humbled to be part of the pilot program before it actually launched. And this basically teaches you about the different modalities between, and the program, the B3 Body Pack program is Body Brain Biome, but they teach what's called SENSE: supplementation, exercise, nutrition, stress management, and then you evaluate while you're going through this program. And the supplementation obviously is a plant-based holistic protocol that targets the gut and the brain health as well as the heart health along with that. Then you have exercise, and for those who are type 2 diabetic who are overweight, weight is a massive deterrent to or I'll say an impact on your type 2 diabetes and your sugar levels. And that was one of my biggest problems. I was 60 pounds overweight. So there's the exercise, nutrition. What kind of nutrition am I really good at as far as what's going to be best for me personally from a physical and a mental and a physiological perspective as well. Then you've got the stress management, and stress management could be anywhere from, a massage or meditation or prayer, whatever works for you. But for me personally, the two big things were exercise and nutrition. And the exercise, I had to triple up. It was my choice to triple up because I wanted to lose the weight faster. And it actually took me 9 months to lose 60 pounds. And that's a lot of weight in 9 months. And then the nutrition, I decided to go plant-based and no meat and no fish for those 9 months. And then when I was done with the program, I would introduce, chicken or fish. But now that I'm, feeling as good as I'm feeling, when I introduce fish or when I introduce meats like chicken, I notice a change. So I'm moving slowly towards a plant-based because it's healthier. And it's not that will I ever not do meat? I don't know yet. I haven't gotten to that point. But I felt a lot of strength. I felt a lot of energy in doing these different modalities, because it's not the one thing be all. It's not here, take the supplementation and you'll reverse your diabetes. No, there's a whole program, and you have to stay committed, be consistent, be persistent, and then in the beginning, the first month, it was pure hell.
Yeah.
I wanted to quit. I wanted to quit a number of
And
times, but
you probably felt sometimes and often people feel worse, right? Before you
yeah,
start feeling better. And that
absolutely.
is so common, and people do get frustrated, rightfully so, right? Because they were like, wait a minute, I thought I was supposed to feel better. Well, it took you how many years, Jeff, did it take you to get to the point that you were on 6 medications? How many years?
It took me a 23 years.
Right, 23 years.
Yeah,
So if you balance 23 years versus 9 months, that
yeah,
literally is overnight, right? So
exactly.
to put in perspective, we're an instant gratification world,
Right.
and we want, whatever's in this bottle to give us immediate results. And I strongly feel that's why one of the reasons pharmaceutical is so, prevalent, is because it gives someone in their mind an instant result, but all they're doing is masking that those medications that you were on, all that was doing was maintaining your level of diabetes. It did nothing to help you heal.
That's absolutely correct. And not only, and on top of that, Pam, what people don't really realize is they're also destroying their insides, because our body temple was really never meant to have man-made chemicals put
No.
in. Plants were put here for a reason, and that's why I'm more going towards that plant side. Plants have amazing attributes that our human cells, our microbiota, and our viruses or virome in our body are hungry and starving for, and we've depleted that over the decades.
Yeah, of course we
And
have.
this is what I'm learning, is that as we feed our body temple with the right nutrients, it's amazing how fast it responds.
Yeah, so we have a program, and you probably started on it as well. Your body, your gut, given the right direction and the right aid, we have a 3-day program where your gut can start healing in 3 days. That's all it takes. It doesn't need a 21-day detox. It doesn't need a month-long juice cleanse. Your gut can start to heal within three
Right.
days. So it
Yep.
kind of like recalibrates everything to get it ready to accept the good nutrients. And one of the things that supplementation, especially what we have to offer, the Amari supplements, um, literally I will back it till the day I can't anymore, till the day I die, because I have tried everything under the sun. And this is the first supplementation program that I have used that works. And supplementation is really the reason that it's important for people, is it is the quickest way that people can start to see change.
Correct.
And
Absolutely.
yeah, so I think that's why it's so, in my opinion, so important. Supplementation is simple and done right, and it is the easiest way to notice change.
Yeah, and here's the other thing, though, too, Pam, is that people don't realize is that the farmlands are so depleted of the nutrients, because the earth has its own microbiome, and we are depleted from those nutrients from the plants that we're most are consuming today.
Of
And
course.
supplementation is required in order to basically repair the gut and bring that mental acuity, or bring back that psychological vigor, which is physical energy, mental acuity, and emotional well-being.
Yeah, and
Because
it's
if we don't
also,
do that,
yeah, it's also should be looked at. It's a form of food.
yes,
What we
yeah,
offer is a form of nutrition. It's a form of food that your
right,
body is missing. So we often say, well, we're going to wrap this up. So we often say, you are what you eat, right? True to a certain extent,
true.
but really you are what you are able to absorb.
This is true.
So if you can eat all the vegetables and whatnot in the world, but if your body is not in a state where it can absorb it, it's just passing on through.
Right.
It's
You're
not,
absolutely correct.
Yeah. So Jeff, give me like, tell me now. We talked about how you were feeling on 6 medications. Sum up in, you know, in 2 or 3 sentences how you feel now. The difference that
So
it's made in your life.
in 25 years, I'm the healthiest I've been. I've got more energy. My brain fog is gone. I suffered decades of severe anxiety, stress, and depression. And that basically stress and anxiety has gone down to a 1 from a 10 plus for decades. And my depression is literally wiped away. I have no depression anymore. I've got more energy. I'm sleeping better. And I still have things that I'm working on because,
Sure.
you know, I've only been doing this for just about 3 years now. And it's a lifestyle change, and you do it incrementally. It's not something that you're going to change everything in one night and flip
Right.
over. It's incremental changes because you're developing habits, and they're
Yeah.
healthy habits.
And the supplementation that you're on is designed so that you'll feel phase benefits, right? Just like to
Right.
you, like you said, let's just take sleep. Sleep is super important for diabetes. If there's a common denominator. You probably can answer this, Jeff. How did you sleep when you were on 6
Oh,
medications?
I was up 4 or 5 times a night.
Right. And the reason that you wake up, oftentimes we think it's because, you know, especially like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, oftentimes we think it's because we need to go to the bathroom, right? But
Right.
you actually woke up because your blood sugar was irregular. And then you wake up and then that desire to go to the bathroom kicks in. But really, most of the time when we wake up in the night, it's because of a blood sugar irregularity. So, one of the things that I learned in my training this year was if we're going to give a couple of tips, have a handful of nuts or something right before you go to bed, just a small handful that will help keep your blood sugar regular throughout the night, because sleep is so important.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I'm gonna throw in there a little nugget for those who are insulin resistant, because that's what I did. Were the nuts thought okay, healthy, but nuts are high in fat.
They are.
So
You can't have this handful.
for me being insulin resistant, it did bring up my
Okay.
glucose. So what I did is I did hearts of palm,
Oh,
or I
there you
did
go.
fruit, or generally I do hearts of palm and maybe a couple of olives, and that
Yep.
kind of just hits that nice, okay, it just settles in the tummy with that night, that last minute night before going to bed.
Yeah. Even some Greek
So
yogurt, low sugar Greek yogurt would be
yeah,
good too.
yeah, that's good too.
Yeah. All right. Well, I appreciate it, Jeff. Thank you, everyone, for joining. If you have any questions, I know most people will catch this on the replay. So if you have questions to catch this, please post in the comments. Even if you have a question for Jeff, I'll make sure that he gets to it and we get it answered
Absolutely.
for you. So thank you, Jeff. I
Thanks,
appreciate it.
Pam.
All right.
Okay.